Good morning, everybody. Good morning. This is truly the day that the Lord has made. Let us rejoice and be glad in it. This is the day that the Lord has made. Let us rejoice and be glad in it. I welcome you this morning to our show. Honored to have you. This is LaShonda Lee with Walk in Favor Life Coaching, and I am so happy to be with you all this morning. I am excited to help you get your day off to an incredible start, your week off to an incredible start. So if you have not already done so, go ahead and take the time to invite someone to the broadcast. Go ahead and share this broadcast with at least one person. And you know what? Make sure, make sure that you go ahead and you grab something to write with and grab something to write on, because my objective today, this morning, is to assist you with establishing and creating a winning foundation, not just for your day, but we want to create that winning foundation for your week, okay? And so, listen, I say welcome, welcome, welcome. You have tuned in to the Morning Glory Show, where in the morning, guess what? All things are new, right? All things are new. And so, go ahead, like I said, invite someone, and I will be right there in the room with you to go ahead and get started in our day. All right? Awesome, awesome, awesome. Happy to have you all with me this morning. And so we're going to go ahead and just get started really quickly. Hey, everybody. I hope you all are having a great day. I'm truly excited to be with you all today, because I just want to share with you all something that was shared with me. As a matter of fact, it is a process that I had to literally walk myself through, right? And as you all know, here at Walk in Favor Life Coaching, we are a global company. And our objective is to work with women, help women accelerate their personal as well as their professional goals by creating unique action plans that will increase their spirituality, that will increase their success, their happiness, and just overall fulfillment in life. And as you all know, for me, with my journey and the process that I had to go through to get from being stuck in a place that I found myself depressed and just really not living a life that I thought God wanted me to live, and a life that I wanted to live, right? And so I had to go through a process where I lost everything, but I'm so happy that that was just a part of my journey. It was just a part of my story. It was not the ending, right? It was just a piece of preparation, let me just say. It was a piece of preparation, and it pointed out areas to me where there needed to be a course correction, right? And so um, my journey to personal development and my journey to professional development really started with my spiritual development. Because once I got my spiritual development in place, then guess what? The personal followed suit, the professional followed suit. And so here at Walk in Favor Life Coaching, I am absolutely passionate about sharing with individuals that spiritual development piece. For those of you all who are open to that spiritual development, because again, it was the journey that I had to walk through. It was that spiritual development that gave me my strong foundation. It was that spiritual development that allowed me to have hope even when it did not look like there was a light at the end of the tunnel. It was that spiritual development that taught me about faith, being able to believe in something that I am anticipating and hoping for, yet there is no evidence in place, in sight, that says that it is going to manifest, right? It was that spiritual development that taught me about trust, really taking my issues and my concerns over to the Lord and leaving them there. It was my spiritual development that taught me how to rejoice in moments where it didn't seem like there was anything to rejoice about, right? It didn't feel like I should be rejoicing. It definitely did not look like I should be rejoicing, but yet having a strong foundation in the word of the Lord, it allowed me to be able to pull this thing all together, to be able to pull all the parts together. And I realized that everything outside of me was a resource, but it was God that was the source. And as a matter of fact, God didn't even need other sources to bless me because He was the source. He was the beginning and He was the ending. And so I like to start the week off with you. And for those of you all who are joining in, hey Don, I'm looking at two screens here. For those of you all who are joining in, I thank you and I welcome you. And so it was through that personal and that spiritual development that my personal and my professional development actually flourished. And so again, I just want to share with you some things that really helped me out. And as you all know, those of you all who follow me, I don't apologize for being a Christian. I don't apologize for loving Jesus with all my heart, my mind, and my soul. I don't apologize for that because, again, it was Him that brought me through the hardest of hard and the toughest of tough times, right? How do you go? How do you go from losing 100% of your income? How do you go from losing the home that you lived in? How do you go from losing all of your modes of transportation except your feet, right? How do you go from feeling like a failure? How do you go from feeling like, just a state of confusion and sadness? How do you go from that state to now being in a place where you are able to spend your time the way you want to spend your time? You wake up with a smile on your face because you absolutely love your life. You get an opportunity to mentor and coach other people who find themselves walking in the shoes that you once walked in, and you're able to shorten their learning curve. You're able to help them so that they don't have to fall as far as you fell. The only way that you go from one place and transform to this place is through God. That was my way. Somebody else may have a different way, but my way definitely included God. And so that's why I love to start the week off right with God, end the week off right with God, right? And so, to be a Christian without prayer is no more possible than to be alive without breathing, right? That's what Martin Luther said. He said, listen, you can't be a Christian without prayer. That's like being alive without breathing. It doesn't happen. And so you and I know that foundations are so important, and they are important for this simple reason. Your foundation determines how big, how strong, and how successful something can be. Your foundation, right? I'm going to say it again. And if you haven't written this down, go ahead and write it down. And if you haven't shared, go ahead and share the broadcast. Your foundation will determine how big, how strong, and how successful something can be. So your foundation will determine how big, how strong your marriage will be, your business, your personal life, your professional life, everything that is concerning you. The success is going to rise and fall on your foundation. And so, for example, if you have the opportunity to build your dream home, the home of your dreams, right? With a bedroom for each of your children and then some extra, right? Several guest rooms so friends and family could come and visit you. Just a lot of space for hosting parties. Maybe you want to run your business out of your home, a big enough kitchen for the family to just hang out in and chat while you're cooking and preparing those holiday meals, right? And most important, for us as women, we want to have a big, 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 big closet, right? And so, in order to have a home like that, you have to agree that you have to just really lay a large enough foundation so that you could accommodate that type of home, right? And so, here's the thing. The same thing that is true for you and I building the home of our dreams is also true for you and I building the life of our dreams, right? We have to lay a strong foundation to build a home of our dreams. Well, equally important is that you and I have to lay a strong foundation for building the life of our dreams. And so I want to say to you, the way that you and I start each day, which is our foundation, will determine how enjoyable and how successful our day is going to be. Let me say that again. The way that you and I determine and to start our day, which is our foundation, it is going to determine how enjoyable and how successful that day is going to be, that week is going to be. Here's the thing, you can't expect to have a day filled with love, joy, optimism, opportunities, personal progress if you have not given yourself the right foundation. And a lot of times we wake up like that, right? We want this day to be peaceful. We want the day to be joyful. We want to have optimism. We want to have love. We want to have happiness. We want to have progress, but we haven't set the foundation. And so you can't have those things if you do not give yourself an opportunity by setting the right foundation. So here's the thing. If you and I wake up grumbling and complaining, listen, I'm raising my hand. I've done that before. Not just one day, I've done it several days, right? Before I don't make it a habit anymore, right? But if you wake up grumbling and complaining, here's the thing, you've already set yourself up for failure. You've already set yourself. And for those of you all who are with me this morning, hello, good morning. Do me a favor and share this broadcast. Invite at least one person on because we're talking about foundation. We're not talking about just establishing the foundation of the home of our dreams, but we're talking about establishing the foundation for the life of our dreams, the dream of our life, right? And so if we wake up grumbling and complaining, we've already set ourselves up for failure before we've left the house. Right? And so if you begin the morning dreading the task ahead of you, and when you dread something, that means that you're not expecting the best outcome. And so if you dread the tasks that are ahead of you, it's that much harder for you to be successful. You know, here's the thing, I've done this too. If you lay in bed too long, and you have to start the day rushing around, then frantically trying to get dressed, frantically trying to find your keys so that you can get ready to go, you are probably going to feel stressed out all day and you're going to find yourself running behind schedule all day long. Foundations are so important. And I don't know if this has happened to you, but it definitely has happened to me. And so that's why I believe and I recommend that having a conversation with God should be the foundation of your day. I know this isn't the first time that you have heard this. I know that you already know what to do, right? But here's the thing. Knowing what to do and doing it isn't the same thing. And so for those of you all who are joining me, I say welcome. Hello. I am so excited that you decided to be with me today. And so again, let me jump in here. Knowing what to do isn't the same as doing it, right? As a matter of fact, the only way we can have a good day is if we take time to have a conversation with God. And I know a lot of times you say, no, I can have a good day as long as I do what I need to do, meet who I need to meet, go where I need to go, be who I need to be. And I can say this, the word of the Lord says, not by might nor by power, but by my spirit, says the word, says the Lord of hosts, right? And so here's the thing. It's not by your might. It's not by your power. It's not by your strength. It's not by your contact. It's not by your wisdom. It's not by your knowledge. It's by the power of God, right? It's by the Spirit of God. And so in order to have his spirit, in order to have his power for you to execute throughout the day, you got to have a conversation before you begin trying to do anything else. And so I implore you to take time to be with God before you try to do what needs to be done in that day. And the best thing about this conversation with the Lord is that there is no subject that's off limits with him. You can talk to him about anything without the fear of being misunderstood, right? You don't have to worry about being judged critically. You don't even have to worry about reproach for your faults. When we talk to God, we literally open the door for him to come into our day. Who don't need God to come into their day? I need God to come into every second of the day for me, right? I'm always an advocate of, Lord, if you do not tell me what to do, I am going to mess this thing up. I'm going to say the wrong thing. I'm going to go in the wrong direction, right? I'm going to think the wrong thoughts, right? I'm going to do the wrong things. And so when we talk to God, we literally open the door up for him to come into our day, into our problems, and into our situations, and to do the things that we can't do on our own. Think about this. The God who created the heavens and the earth, the universe, who created you and everything in between, knocks on your door and says, I want to come in because I want to help you today. I really want you to win today. I want to be able to teach you the things that are best for you. I want to direct you in the direction that works out for your good. So go ahead, come on, open the door. Let me in, right? Let me in. You ain't got nothing to lose. That's what God is saying. Let me in. You don't have anything to lose. And so when we invite God, we're actually inviting the power of God into our lives. And so talking to God about our life doesn't immediately change our circumstances, right? But it does change something in you and I, and it gives us the strength we need to go through our day with a smile on our face, not a frown, right? Not with dread, not with worry, not with doubts, but we get an opportunity to go through the day with strength. We get an opportunity to go through the day with a smile on our face. You know, they say it takes more muscles in your face to frown than it does to smile. And so when we invite God into our day, it helps us believe that we are not alone, right? That is the most important thing for us to know, is that we're not alone. And so as having this conversation with God, you need to know that it is a two-way street. It's about talking to God, but it's also about allowing him to talk back to you. I mean, when was the last time you enjoyed a conversation where it was just somebody talking to you and you didn't have an opportunity to talk back, right? Or vice versa. You was talking to them, but they wasn't talking back to you. And so here's a question. How does God speak to you? Do you know? I mean, if you are listening for his voice, then how are you expecting him to show up? I know when I was younger, I always found myself asking people, how do you know when God is speaking to you? Right? And it was so funny. I can laugh about it now. It wasn't funny then because I didn't feel they were helping me in their answer. But today I understand it. And without fail, I will always receive the same response. They would say, you just know. You just know. And like I said, at the time, that didn't help me at all. But however, today, if asked, I could answer that way, but I could also acquaint you with at least four specific ways that I believe God speaks to us. And so I want to share with you those four specific ways. And I also want to offer you some suggestions on how to ensure and establish a great foundation for your day, right? And so one of the ways that God will speak to you is through his word. And that's, as a matter of fact, is the number one way that God speaks to us and through us is his word. You know, that's why it is so important for us not to just read the Bible, but also to study it. Because in it, we see instructions, we see promises, we see hope, reasons for hope, right? We see direction. All of those examples are put right there in the Bible. And they're not put there just to be there just for show, but they're there so that you and I can receive instructions. We can be reminded of God's promises and that he doesn't break his promises. We can gain hope when our situation looks hopeless. We can gain direction when we don't know where to go. And so if you want to hear God's voice, and I know you do, just like I did, I encourage you to spend some time each day in God's word, because everything that the Bible says is God's word to you. Everything he says is his word to you. And so it's for everybody, but it's also for you. So I urge you to take it personal, right? I urge you to take it personal. When you read it, believe it because it's God speaking directly to you about his will for your life. And so the first way that God will communicate is he will speak to you through his word. God will also speak to you through this internal peace. You know, if you're asking God to help you make a decision, and every single day you and I have to make decisions, right? We have to make decisions about what we're going to wear. We have to make decisions about how we're going to invest our income. We have to make decisions about how we're going to spend and invest our time. We have to make decisions about how we're going to move forward in our career, in our personal lives, our family. We have to make decisions every single day. And so if we're asking God to help us make a decision, here's the thing. What is the option that gives you the most peace? Because many times it is this peace that is telling you the direction to take. Because peace always accompanies God's instruction for your life. And so if you feel that internal peace, maybe you can't explain it, maybe you can't describe it, but you just know, then guess what? That is another way that God speaks to you, right? Here's the thing. God will also speak to you through wisdom and common sense. My mom used to always say, she said, well, I guess common sense ain't so common. And it used to crack me up because that was her way of calling folks dumb, I believe, right? And so here's the thing. God will speak to you. And I don't know if your parent ever said something like that, or maybe you said common sense isn't so common. But God will speak to you through wisdom. And what is wisdom? Wisdom is, listen, you have this knowledge, you have this understanding. Wisdom is the application, it's the practice of the knowledge and the understanding that you have. And so God will speak to you through wisdom and he will speak to you through common sense, right? One of the most practical ways to hear from God is through wisdom and common sense because it's the wisdom that discerns truth in a situation while the common sense gives good judgment in what to do about that truth, right? And so I consider wisdom, supernatural because it isn't something that you can be taught. It's something that God gives you as a gift. And so you will find a lot of people always saying, Lord, give me your wisdom. And I know for me, I say, Lord, please give me your on the spot wisdom in this conversation that I must have, and give me your on the spot wisdom um, in this decision that I have to make, right? Because again, man can't give you wisdom. Wisdom is a gift from God. And so he will speak to you through his wisdom and common sense. And then the fourth way that God, I believe, speaks to you is through an internal, still, small voice, right? You know, when we are born again, we're made alive in our spirit to be really sensitive to the voice of God, right? And so we hear his whisper. You know, we feel his nudging, even if we can't tell where it's coming from. You know, people would say, I felt God downloaded in my spirit. Have you said that before? Sometimes we say, something told me to do this, or something told me not to do that, right? You call it something because you can't put your finger on it. That something is God, right? Sometimes we say God downloaded in my spirit, or he nudged me in my spirit. That's God speaking to you. And so he guides us deep within our hearts, right? He convicts us there. He corrects us there. He directs us by a still small voice that is only heard in our spirit. It's like that knowing that you know. When they say you know what you know, what you know is deep inside. Maybe you can't explain it in words to somebody else. And you may call it that feeling. That's God, right? Speaking to you. And he's letting us know the right thing to do, what is right to do. We feel that certainty, right? That, you know what, it's not coming from my mind, but it's coming from a deeper place within me. And so, you know what? Those are four main ways that I really wanted to introduce to you today. Because in the event that you also would, like me, wondering, how does God speak to you? I don't want you to just have, well, you just know, as your answer. I wanted to provide for you that and then some other ways. But you know what? God will speak to us in ways outside of that as well. He will speak to us through other people. God will speak to us through nature. I mean, He is the creator of the heavens and the earth, right? He created us from the dust, which is nature. So He'll speak to us through nature. He will speak to us through a personal conviction. He will speak to us through our own thoughts, right? He will speak through natural things that happen around us. He will speak to us through circumstances. God will speak to us through sermons. He will speak to us through worship songs. Have you ever been listening to a praise and worship song and it was just something on your heart? And it was so on your heart, and then that right praise and worship song came on, and you knew without a shadow of a doubt that God let that song come on to minister to you, to talk to your heart, to remind you that He was here, that He was there for you, to remind you that He's in control. He got you, right? So He'll speak through those worship songs. God will speak to you through Bible-based books. As a matter of fact, I love Joyce Myers. And so there's many times that I receive a message from the Lord just through reading her books, right? And so these are just a few more ways that God speaks to His children, because He wants us to follow His commands, right? So you got to know that He wants us to be clear as to what it is that He's saying to us, right? And so I just wanted to really just open up and share with you ways to identify how God speaks back to you. And so conversations means that there's a two-way street, right? There's a two-way street. And all of these ways that God speaks should always agree with His written word, right? Here's the thing. If God's word doesn't give us exact instructions about something, we can still find within its pages the nature of God. And knowing that God enables us to discern between a message from God and one that might not be from God. And so again, as you can see, having a conversation with God is a two-way street. It's not just you and I telling God all the things that we need. It's not just sitting in silence waiting for something to miraculously happen, even though it can. Prayer, which is having a conversation with God, is about talking, and it's also then about listening as you go about your day. It's about you talking to God, but it's also about you listening, because if you ask Him something, you should expect Him to say something back. And it's just like any other relationship. Talking and listening is critical and it's crucial if you want to get closer. And so here is a couple of suggestions that I want to share with you real quickly as to how to really have a conversation with God, right? Because sometimes we just over spiritualize this thing, right? And we look at prayer as a chore versus a privilege. And so this is what I would recommend. You may want to start this tomorrow morning, right? I don't know what beverage you drink, non-alcoholic beverage, let me say, you drink in the morning. Maybe it's tea, maybe it's coffee. I'm a hot chocolate girl. But tomorrow morning, I want you to get your favorite non-alcoholic drink. It could be a smoothie, right? Pour yourself a cup of orange juice, some coffee, tea, make you a smoothie, whatever you like to drink tomorrow morning, and spend time just talking to God until you finish whatever it is that you're drinking, right? As long as you got that beverage in your cup, talk to God, right? Talk to God just like you would a friend. Ask Him questions, share your frustrations, and just be totally and completely honest with Him. Don't try to come up with the perfect words to make you sound smart, because remember, God is omniscient. He's the smartest of us all, right? So talk to God just like you would have a conversation with a friend over your cup of coffee or your tea or whatever. And again, if there's any parts of your life that you don't understand, ask God about it. If you're frustrated about some areas in your life, share it with the Lord. Just be totally honest and complete with Him. And then here's the thing. Be patient with yourself while you're learning how to listen to and hear from God. Be patient with yourself. Don't feel defeated if you make a mistake, right? This is a journey. We are his children, and guess what? As children, it always takes us a little while to learn new things, right? So be patient with yourself. And then as your day progresses, before you go to bed at night, take some time to reflect on your day. Take some time. As a matter of fact, you don't even have to wait till tomorrow. Start this thing today. At the end of your day, take some time to reflect on the day. Because here's the thing, when you reflect on your day, when you do this, you will often see in retrospect, right, how God spoke to you and how he guided you throughout the day. You may realize that something you thought to be a coincidence, something that you thought was a lucky break, something you thought that was just happenstance, was actually God speaking to you. And I think the more we give God credit for the ideas that we have, I remember you all, and then we're gonna go. I remember I was looking for something, and in the midst of looking for it, I found it, but I also saw something else. It was a purse, and I said to myself, when I need that purse, I remember I'm gonna remember it's right here. And so, lo and behold, it came a day I needed that purse. And so, since some time had passed, I thought I remembered where I put it. And so, I went to that destination looking for the purse. And guess what? The purse wasn't there. And so, I continued to look into that destination because I truly knew in my heart that that's where that purse was. But it wasn't. And so it began to get closer and closer and closer to the time that I needed to be leaving the house so that I would not be late for my appointment. And I finally just said, after doing it all on my own, looking for this purse, I said, Lord, can you please show me where the purse is? And then I promise you, it was about 5 seconds later, it came into my thoughts. And I said, oh, I remember. And God said so clearly, no, you didn't. I told you where that purse was. And I promise you, I spent about a minute or so just laughing so hard because I guess I was like, God saying, you ain't going to take credit for me telling you and guiding you to what it is that you were looking for. You're not going to take credit for me answering your prayer because it was so funny. I said, oh, I remember where that purse is. And God said, no, you didn't. I told you where it was. And so again, sometimes we may think things are coincidence, or we may think that, oh, it just popped up in our head, or it was just a lucky break. No, it was actually God responding to your request. And I believe the more we give God credit for the things that he do in our lives, and don't think it was because we're smart, don't think it's because we built the right connections, don't think it was because we were so great and awesome. No, it was because God's love for us and him wanting us to have an abundant, prosperous, and fruitful life, right? And so listen, I pray that something I said today will spark in you a greater and bigger desire to really start your day off with God. Because when you start your day off with him, everything just goes right, right? And even if hiccups show up in the day, you are mentally and emotionally prepared to handle whatever it is, right? And so maybe you are a young lady just like me, where I was a few years ago. I just found myself stuck in a rut, right? Like I told you earlier in the broadcast, lost everything. You name it, I lost it, right? And so I needed to reconnect with the thing that meant the most to me. And that was God, right? I needed to know that God was my real beginning and my ending. I needed to know that apart from God, I could not do anything. And so instead of trying to fix the situation that was broken by trying to figure out ways to generate more income, I needed to take a step back and get my spiritual life together. And once I got my spiritual development together, my personal development fell into place, my professional development fell in place. Everything outside of me fell in place because I heal the inner battle that was taking place within me. And that was not me not giving God priority in my life. And maybe you're like me. You put the accumulation of wealth first. You put family first. You put job first. You put all these other things first, but God was not the center of your life. And his word clearly says that if we seek him first in all his righteousness, he will add all the other things to us. And so I had to really align myself. I was totally out of alignment with the Lord, and I needed to align myself up with him so that he could bless me in my comings and my goings, so that he can make me the head and not the tail, so that I can really walk in the promise when he said I was fearfully and wonderfully made, so that I can walk in the promise that he said I could be the lender and not the borrower, right? So that I could truly believe that he came so that I would have an abundant life, lacking in anything. I had to get my spiritual development together before he would even allow my personal and professional life to get back on track. And maybe right now you are that woman. Right now you are working hard to get your personal life in order, and it just seems like everything that you're doing is falling to the wayside. Maybe you're trying to get your career, your business, or professional life in order, and nothing you do is working. As a matter of fact, the more you try, the further away you get from the goal that you're trying to obtain. And so you're just hitting and missing on everything, right? If that's you, maybe God is saying it's time to put him first. Maybe God is speaking to you saying, listen, if you come over here and allow me to rest in your heart, to allow me to guide you, you will have everything that you want. Remember the story where Peter and the fishermen, they spent all day trying to catch fish, and nothing showed up in their net. They used all of their skills. They used all of their knowledge, their understanding. They used all of their resources trying to fill their net with fish, and they didn't catch anything. But when Jesus showed up, they received him and they obeyed him, right? He said, cast your net to the other side. And they was quite sure that they had done everything that they knew to do, but they obeyed anyway. They cast their net to the other side, right? And when they cast their net to the other side, what happened? They had more fish than they needed. They were in the overflow, right? And so I'm saying to you, maybe you need to cast your net so that God can put you in an overflow. And so maybe you're like, LaShonda, I know I need to get myself right with God. I've been saying when I get myself right, then I'm gonna turn to the Lord. Well, I'm here to tell you, you can't get yourself right without the Lord. And so maybe you need a game plan. Maybe you need to know how to start this process. Maybe you need to know how to really be able to pull out what God is saying to you. And if that's you, I want to encourage you to allow me to work with you on a one-on-one basis. Let me walk you through that same game plan, that same process I had to take myself through so that I could have a stronger relationship with the Lord. Because God says that he rewards those who diligently seek him. Are you looking for a reward from the Lord? God says that he will give you the desires of your heart if you delight yourself in him. So I want to help you delight yourself in the Lord. I want to help you be one that diligently seek him. I want to help you be one that thirsts and hunger for him, but then show you how to feed that thirst and that hunger so that God will literally bless you and bless you more abundantly. And so if you know that you are one that is in need of spiritual development, spiritual upliftment, spiritual restoration, spiritual replenishment, spiritual refueling, then go to my website, www.walkinfavorinc.com, and just book a complimentary coaching session. And let's begin to put a plan in place so that you can move from being stuck so that you can get unstuck and become unstoppable. Because that's what happens when your spiritual development is in place, your personal development and your professional development follow sync, and you go from being stuck to unstuck and unstoppable. So listen, enjoy the rest of this day, enjoy the rest of your week. Make sure that your foundation is strong so that you can get unstuck and become unstoppable, right? And so listen, I look forward to speaking with you. Have an incredible day. God bless you. Bye now.